Joy and gratitude make one's countenance radiant. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to glow, even when they're not wearing makeup, dressed in fancy clothes, or following beauty trends? There's something about them, an inner light that spills out through their eyes, their smile, even the way they walk into a room. You feel warmer just being around them, as if their presence is a gentle sun on a cold day. That glow, I believe, comes from two simple yet profound states of mind: joy and gratitude. You see, joy isn't just about laughing loudly at a party or feeling excited when something good happens. And gratitude isn't just about saying thank you when someone holds the door for you. These are much deeper than surface gestures. Joy is a quiet aliveness inside you, a contentment that doesn't depend on everything going your way. Gratitude is the art of seeing the good that's already here, even if life isn't perfect. Together, they change not just your mood, but your entire presence. Think of your mind like a garden. When you plant seeds of joy, you create flowers that bloom naturally, without force. When you water it with gratitude, those flowers stay vibrant even through difficult seasons. People who live this way carry a kind of beauty that time cannot take away. It's not the kind of beauty that fades with age, it deepens. I've met elders in their 70s and 80s whose skin bears wrinkles, whose hair has turned silver, and yet, they radiate more beauty than most 20-year-olds I know. Their secret? They've learned to smile from the heart, to be thankful for small moments: a warm cup of tea, a phone call from an old friend, the sound of rain on the roof. And here's something interesting. Science backs this up. Studies in psychology and neuroscience show that practicing gratitude regularly changes the brain. It increases activity in areas linked to happiness, empathy, and resilience. It lowers stress, improves sleep, and even strengthens the immune system. In other words, when you feel grateful, your body knows it, and your face shows it. Your eyes become softer, your smile more genuine. But I want to be honest, it's not always easy to feel joy and gratitude. Some days, the weight of life can press so hard on your chest that smiling feels impossible. We live in a world that often tells us we need more success, more beauty, more possessions, before we can feel good about ourselves. Gratitude cuts through that lie. Joy defies it. They whisper, "You already have enough. You already are enough." When I was younger, I used to think happiness was something I'd find after I reached a certain milestone, when I had more money, when I achieved my goals, when people finally saw my worth. But I learned the hard way that chasing happiness like that is like chasing the horizon. It keeps moving further away. The turning point came when I began to notice the small, ordinary gifts around me. Sunlight on my desk in the morning, the taste of fresh fruit, the way a stranger's kindness could change my day. And here's the miracle. Once I began to live in gratitude for these simple things, joy naturally followed. I didn't have to fake a smile. It just came. My face softened. My eyes brightened. Friends told me I looked different, though I hadn't changed my hairstyle or wardrobe. That's when I realized true beauty isn't applied, it's revealed. So, I want to ask you, when was the last time you felt truly joyful for no reason? When was the last time you paused to give thanks for something small, something you usually overlook? Maybe you've been carrying stress, resentment, or worry for too long. Those things show on our faces more than we realize. But joy and gratitude can replace that heaviness with light. They are free, available right now, and they don't depend on your circumstances being perfect. If you're wondering how to start, try this. Every morning, before you reach for your phone, think of 3 things you're grateful for. They don't have to be big. Sometimes "I woke up today" is enough. And as you move through your day, notice moments that make you smile, no matter how small. Over time, this becomes a habit, and your inner light will grow so naturally that others will notice, even if you say nothing about it. Because joy and gratitude aren't just feelings, they are ways of seeing the world. And when you see the world through this lens, your face tells the story before you even speak. One day, someone might look at you and think, "They have something I can't quite name, but I want to be around them." And you'll know, it's not luck, it's not youth, it's not some magic beauty trick. It's simply that you've learned the art of being joyfully, gratefully alive. And that's a beauty that shines brighter than any diamond. Inner mood reflects on the face. Have you ever noticed how some people's faces seem to carry their life story? Not in the sense of wrinkles or age lines alone, but in the subtle way their expressions rest when no one's looking. There are those whose brows seem permanently furrowed, as if the weight of the world has left its mark. And then there are others whose faces feel open and inviting. whose eyes seem to hold a gentle light, even in silence. This isn't an accident. In Buddhist wisdom, there's a saying, "The mind shapes the countenance." It means that what we hold inside, our habitual thoughts, feelings, and attitudes, over time sculpts the way we appear to others. You can't fake it for long. Eventually, the truth of your inner world seeps into the tiny lines around your eyes, the curve of your mouth, and the softness, or hardness, in your gaze. When someone lives with joy and gratitude, something beautiful happens to their face. The muscles relax. The eyes naturally sparkle, not because of makeup or lighting, but because the person is truly at ease within themselves. Smiles appear effortlessly, even without a reason. It's as if the heart has learned to speak through the face. I've seen this in the simplest of places. I once met an old woman in a small mountain village. Her clothes were worn, her home modest, yet when she welcomed me, her smile felt like sunlight breaking through clouds. She didn't say much, but her presence alone was comforting. Later, I learned she had lived through many hardships, loss, poverty, even war. But instead of growing bitter, she had cultivated gratitude for every small blessing. A meal shared, a child's laughter, the changing seasons. And now, in her old age, that gratitude had softened her face into something truly radiant. Science, in its own way, agrees with this ancient teaching. Studies show that chronic stress and anger tighten facial muscles and can even change our resting expressions over time. On the other hand, positive emotions like joy and appreciation trigger micro-movements, tiny lifts at the corners of the mouth, subtle crinkles around the eyes, that, when repeated daily, reshape how we appear naturally. In other words, the emotions you rehearse most often will eventually perform themselves on your face, even when you're not trying. But here's the tricky part. Many of us try to fix our outer appearance without tending to the inner cause. We buy creams, schedule treatments, force smiles for photos. Yet if the mind is still restless, resentful, or fearful, the face will eventually reveal it. True radiance can't be painted on. It has to grow from within. This is why in Buddhist practice, cultivating peace of mind isn't just about feeling better inside. It's also about how you move through the world. A peaceful mind manifests as a calm, approachable presence. People can sense it before you speak a word. It's the difference between someone who greets you with guarded suspicion and someone whose very glance says, "You are safe here." Think about it. Have you ever been drawn to someone without knowing why? Maybe they weren't the most conventionally attractive person in the room, yet you found yourself wanting to be near them. That's the pull of a settled, joyful mind. It's magnetic. Of course, life will give us reasons to frown, to tense up, to harden. But we get to choose whether those moments define us or simply pass through us. This choice, made again and again, is what shapes not only our character but our appearance. I remember a time when I was going through a particularly stressful season, juggling too many responsibilities, not sleeping enough, and worrying constantly. One day, a friend looked at me and asked, "Are you okay? You look tired, but not just tired, sad." That stopped me in my tracks. I realized my inner storm had become visible, etched into my expression. I couldn't hide it, even if I wanted to. That was when I started a small but life-changing habit. Each morning, before the rush began, I would sit for a few minutes in silence, focusing on 3 things I was grateful for. Some days it was big things, like having people I loved. Other days it was as small as the warmth of my coffee mug in my hands. Slowly, my mood shifted. The tension in my jaw eased. My shoulders dropped. And one afternoon, months later, someone said to me, "You look lighter." They didn't mean I had lost weight. They meant my face had changed. My eyes, they said, seemed softer. That's when I truly understood what mind shapes the countenance means. So, here's my question for you. What are you rehearsing on your face every day? Is it worry, disapproval, resentment, or is it kindness, gratitude, joy? Because whatever it is, you're sculpting tomorrow's face with today's feelings. If you want to start changing your outer presence, don't begin with the mirror, begin with the mind. Ask yourself, what would it feel like to move through today with just a little more gratitude? How would your expression shift if you looked at someone and chose to see them with kindness first? These are small inner adjustments, but over time, they leave lasting marks, marks that no beauty product can replicate. And when your face becomes a mirror of a joyful, grateful heart, people won't just see you, they'll feel you. And that, I think, is the kind of beauty worth carrying for a lifetime. Positive energy radiates outward. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt lighter, just because of one person's presence? They didn't have to say anything profound or even talk to you directly. You simply felt something shift. It's as though the air warmed, the space felt safer, and you found yourself smiling without even realizing it. That's the power of joy and gratitude when they are live in someone's heart. They don't stay hidden inside. They move outward, through the eyes, the tone of voice, the way a hand rests gently on someone's shoulder, the way laughter rings out without hesitation. It's energy you can feel without needing to name it. In Buddhist teachings, this is often described as the ripple effect of inner states. If your mind is calm, compassionate, and thankful, that peace flows naturally to the people around you. You don't have to force it, perform it, or try to look joyful. It simply spills over, like sunlight slipping through the cracks of a window. I once met a man like this on a train ride. We were strangers, but the moment he greeted me, I noticed something unusual. His eyes had a kind of sparkle, not a performative brightness, but a softness that made you feel seen and safe. He asked me where I was headed, listened with genuine interest, and even when the conversation paused, the silence felt comfortable. By the end of the journey, I realized it wasn't anything specific he said, it was how he carried himself. There was no rush in his voice, no defensiveness in his posture. It was as if he'd made peace with the world, and that peace quietly invited others to rest too. Science gives us another angle on this. Psychologists have found that emotions are contagious. If someone is consistently joyful and grateful, their body language, relaxed shoulders, open gestures, genuine smiles, signals safety and warmth. These cues activate a response in others, lowering their stress and making them more open in return. In short, your inner state is like a silent broadcast. People tune in without even realizing it. But there's something even more beautiful here. When your energy radiates outward, it creates a loop. Your joy sparks joy in others, and their joy reflects back to you, amplifying what you already feel. Gratitude works the same way. When you express appreciation, even for small things, you often find yourself receiving appreciation in return. It's a cycle of light that feeds itself. This is why the most magnetic people are not necessarily the loudest, the most confident, or the most charming in a conventional sense. They're the ones who are grounded in themselves, who carry a quiet, steady warmth. Being around them feels like sitting near a campfire. You don't need constant conversation, you just enjoy the comfort of the glow. Of course, this works both ways. If we carry frustration, resentment, or constant dissatisfaction, that energy radiates outward too. People may not know the details of our struggles, but they can feel the heaviness. And just as warmth invites, heaviness can create distance. That's why tending to our inner state isn't just a private matter, it's an act of kindness toward others. When I first began practicing daily gratitude, I thought of it as something personal, almost like journaling for my own sake. But over time, I noticed changes in my relationships. Friends said they felt calmer around me. Conversations became deeper. Even strangers seemed to open up more easily. I wasn't doing anything deliberate to spread gratitude. It was simply leaking out into the way I spoke, the way I made eye contact, the way I listened without rushing. If you think about it, every interaction you have today will leave some kind of imprint. The barista at the coffee shop, the coworker you pass in the hallway, the family member you text before bed, all of them will receive a little piece of the energy you carry. The question is, what kind of energy will it be? This is why joy and gratitude are not luxuries we practice only when life is going well. They are daily disciplines. On hard days, they're even more important, because that's when the temptation to withdraw or radiate frustration is strongest. Choosing to carry warmth in those moments is an act of courage. One of my favorite reminders comes from the Buddhist saying, "A candle loses nothing by lighting another candle." When your joy lights someone else's, you don't run out. You simply make the room brighter. And that's the magic of energy that radiates outward. It doesn't deplete you, it expands you. So maybe today, before rushing into your to-do list, pause and check in with yourself. What's the energy you're about to share? Will it be rushed and impatient, or steady and kind? Will it leave others feeling smaller or a little more at peace? You might be surprised how little it takes to shift the atmosphere. Sometimes it's as simple as slowing your breath before speaking, or letting your eyes genuinely meet someone else's, or saying thank you in a way that makes the other person feel truly seen. And here's the part one love most. You don't need a perfect life to radiate positive energy. You don't need to have it all figured out. You simply need to keep choosing joy and gratitude, moment by moment, until they become the language your whole being speaks. When that happens, your presence itself becomes a gift. People may forget your words, but they will never forget how you made them feel. And that feeling of being seen, valued, and warmed by your energy is the kind of legacy that doesn't fade with time. Beauty beyond time. Let me tell you something that might surprise you. The most beautiful people I've ever met weren't the ones on magazine covers, or the ones who seem frozen in the glow of their 20s. No, the most beautiful people I've met are often in their 50s, 60s, even 70s. And their beauty has nothing to do with the symmetry of their features, or the perfection of their skin. It's a different kind of beauty, one that comes from a lifetime of living with joy and gratitude. You see, physical beauty is like a flower in spring, vibrant, delicate, but inevitably subject to time. The years will change the shape of your face, the texture of your skin, the color of your hair. And if that's all you've built your sense of beauty on, the mirror can feel like an enemy. But there's another kind of beauty, let's call it radiance. It's not tied to youth, and it doesn't fade with age. In fact, it deepens. You can see it in the eyes of someone who has lived through storms but never lost their faith in sunlight. You can hear it in the laughter of someone who has learned to find joy in the smallest things. You can feel it in the presence of someone who carries gratitude like a second skin. There's a reason the lines around the eyes of such people are often called smile lines. They are the physical map of a life well lived. They're not flaws, they're proof. Proof that joy wasn't just an occasional visitor, it was a resident. I remember once meeting an elderly woman in a small coastal town. She was well into her 80s, her hair a soft silver, her hands weathered like driftwood. And yet, when she smiled, the whole cafe seemed to shift. People turned to look, not because she was glamorous in the Hollywood sense, but because there was something magnetic about her presence. I later learned she had spent her life caring for others, teaching children, planting gardens, and cooking meals for neighbors. Her joy wasn't loud, it was steady, like a warm lamp on a cold night. That's the thing about this kind of beauty, it's not performance-based. You don't need perfect lighting, the right outfit, or a flawless complexion. You just need a heart that knows how to be grateful, even for imperfect days. And here's the part that's almost unfair in how good it is. The longer you live with joy and gratitude, the stronger this beauty becomes. It's the opposite of what happens with physical beauty, which tends to fade with time. This beauty accumulates. It's like wine aging in a cellar. The years don't diminish it, they enrich it. Think about someone you admire who's older but whose presence still lights up a room. What is it, exactly, that makes them so beautiful to you? I bet it's not the length of their eyelashes or the number of their abs. It's the way they make you feel when you're with them. It's the comfort in their voice, the kindness in their eyes, the sense that they've made peace with themselves and the world. That's a beauty no wrinkle can erase. Unfortunately, we live in a culture obsessed with the temporary. We are taught to chase youth, to fight aging, to believe that beauty has an expiration date. And while there's nothing wrong with taking care of your appearance, there's something deeply sad about ignoring the kind of beauty that only life experience can give you. I think about my grandmother a lot when I talk about this. When she was young, she was considered very pretty, but by the time I knew her, her face had changed. What hadn't changed, what had actually grown, was the way she made everyone feel welcome. She could be talking to the mailman, the neighbor's kid, or a complete stranger, and somehow they all left her presence feeling a little lighter. That's beauty beyond time. Buddhist teachings often say, the mind shapes the countenance. Live in bitterness, and it will etch itself into your expression. Live in joy and gratitude, and it will leave a different kind of mark, one that makes you more radiant with every passing year. So the real question isn't, how can I stay young forever? The real question is, what kind of beauty am I building? One that's tied to something the years will take away, or one that the years will only make richer. If you start paying attention, you'll notice this beauty everywhere. It's in the man who's weathered loss but still chooses to laugh with his friends. It's in the woman whose hands are calloused from work but whose touch is still gentle. It's in the way some people's eyes seem to hold more than light. They hold understanding. And the best part? You can start building this beauty right now. Every act of gratitude adds a layer. Every moment of joy, especially in times when joy is hard to find, adds depth. You don't need to wait until you're older to have it, and you don't need to fear losing it as the years go by. One day, long after the sharp lines of youth have softened, you'll look in the mirror and see something different staring back at you. Not the person you once were, but the person you've been becoming all along. And you might notice something quietly astonishing. You are more beautiful now than you've ever been. That's beauty beyond time. It's not the absence of age, it's the presence of life. The physiological effects of joy. We often think of joy as something that happens in our hearts or minds, a mood, a passing feeling. But the truth is, joy isn't just an emotion, it's a full body experience. It's chemistry, it's biology, it's as physical as your heartbeat. When you truly feel joyful or grateful, your body responds in ways you might not even notice in the moment. Your stress hormones, like cortisol, drop. Your blood pressure eases down. Your heart rate steadies. Your blood flows more freely. In other words, joy is like a quiet, natural medicine working in the background. And here's the fascinating part. Your body doesn't just feel better on the inside, it starts showing that joy on the outside. Think about it. Have you ever met someone who seems to glow, even without makeup or fancy clothes? Their skin looks alive, their eyes sparkle, their smile feels effortless. That's not just good genetics. More often than not, that's the physiology of joy at work. When you're calm and happy, your circulation improves, bringing more oxygen and nutrients to your skin. Your eyes look clearer because your blood vessels aren't constricted from stress. Even your posture changes. You stand taller, you move with more ease. It's why people sometimes say, "You look different. Have you been on vacation?" When in reality, you've just been feeling lighter in spirit. I remember once reading about a study where researchers compared the faces of people after spending a week in nature, away from work stress, with their faces during an average work week. No surprise, skin tone improved, eyes looked brighter, and there was a visible softness in their expressions. That's what happens when the body gets a break from the constant stress signals and is allowed to rest in joy. And it's not just about appearance, it's about longevity. Chronic stress is like a slow drip of poison in the body. It accelerates aging, weakens the immune system, and messes with digestion and sleep. But gratitude and joy work in the opposite direction. They trigger the release of feel-good neurotransmitters like dopamine and serotonin, which don't just make you feel happier, they actually improve your body's ability to heal and maintain itself. Let me ask you this. When was the last time you felt so happy that your cheeks hurt from smiling? That's not just a sweet memory. It's a real, measurable moment in your biology. Your body, in that instant, was releasing endorphins. Your muscles were relaxing. Your immune system was getting a little boost. And your skin, it was probably getting more blood flow, which is why happiness often gives people that natural glow you can't fake with highlighter. Now, here's the kicker. This is available to all of us, every day, without a prescription. You don't need to wait for a vacation, a promotion, or the perfect circumstances to feel it. Gratitude and joy are choices we can practice. They're habits, and like any habit, they get stronger the more you do them. Of course, I'm not saying you can just think happy thoughts and all your problems will disappear. Life is complex, and stress is inevitable. But there's a difference between having stress and living in stress. Joy doesn't mean ignoring the hard stuff. It means making space for the good stuff to affect you just as deeply. One of the simplest ways to start is with gratitude. It sounds cliché, but it works. Every time you focus on something you're thankful for, your brain literally rewires itself to notice more positives. Over time, this lowers your baseline stress levels, and your body starts to live in a state that's more healing than harming. And here's a little experiment you can try. For 1 week, start your mornings by writing down 3 small things you're grateful for. Nothing grand, just the little things. The sound of coffee brewing. The way the light comes through your window. The text from a friend. Then notice if, by the end of the week, your body feels any different. Are you sleeping better? Is your mood more stable? Does your face look more relaxed when you see yourself in the mirror? You might be surprised at how quickly your physiology responds. Because joy is not just an abstract concept. It's a living, breathing force that changes your biology in real time. There's a saying I love, happiness looks good on you. It's true, but not just in a poetic sense, it's true scientifically. Joy changes the way your cells behave. Gratitude changes the way your heart beats. And over time, those changes accumulate, creating not only a healthier body but a more radiant presence. So, the next time someone tells you, "You look great, what's your secret?" Maybe you'll smile and say, "I've just been feeling grateful lately." And you won't be lying. Because that's the quiet magic of joy. It's medicine for the body, light for the spirit, and yes, the best beauty treatment you'll ever have. The power of gratitude. If I could give you one tool, a tool that costs nothing, takes almost no time, and yet has the power to completely shift the way you experience life, it would be gratitude. Now, I know gratitude is a word we hear so often it can start to feel like background noise. You've probably seen it on coffee mugs, inspirational posters, maybe even as a hashtag. But gratitude is not a cute slogan. It's not just an emotion that floats in for a few seconds and disappears. Gratitude is a way of life. It's a lens you can choose to look through, and the view changes everything. When you begin to live with gratitude, something remarkable happens. You stop feeling like life is a competition you're losing. You stop measuring your worth against other people's highlights. You stop chasing the next thing as if happiness is always one more achievement away. Instead, you start seeing what's already here, right now, and realizing it's enough. And here's the beautiful paradox. When you appreciate what you have, life often gives you more to appreciate. Not because the universe suddenly starts showering you with gifts, but because your eyes are finally open to see what was always there. I've met people who have very little by material standards, but they radiate peace. Their homes are simple but warm. Their smiles are gentle, unforced. Their faces carry a kind of serenity you can't buy. It comes from the inside out. Gratitude has a way of softening the lines on a face, relaxing the jaw, making the eyes warmer. You don't even realize you're seeing it, but you feel it. You trust those people almost instantly. And here's why. Gratitude changes not only your mood, but your body language. When you're grateful, you're not holding tension from resentment or envy. Your shoulders relax. Your breathing deepens. You meet people's eyes without that restless urge to compare yourself. That's why gratitude isn't just good for your mental health. It's visible. It shows. Now, I want to pause here and ask you something. When was the last time you really sat with gratitude? Not just said, "I'm thankful," but actually felt it? Felt that swell in your chest that says, "This moment, this person, this life, it's precious"? If it's been a while, you're not alone. Our culture trains us to focus on what's missing. The next promotion, the better car, the newer phone. And when we live in that mindset, gratitude doesn't stand a chance. But gratitude is a muscle. If you use it, it grows. If you ignore it, it weakens. The good news? It doesn't take much to bring it back to life. One practice I love is the 5 senses gratitude check. Wherever you are, pause for a moment and name one thing you can see, hear, smell, taste, and touch that you're grateful for. It could be as simple as the sunlight on your wall, the hum of your refrigerator, the smell of coffee, the taste of fresh water, or the texture of a warm blanket. This small act pulls you back into the present, and the present is where gratitude lives. Another way is to turn comparison into curiosity. Instead of looking at someone who has what you want and feeling envy, ask yourself, what can I learn from them? Or even better, what in my life might they envy if they knew me? That shift in perspective can dissolve resentment and replace it with appreciation for what's already in your hands. Science backs this up. Studies have shown that people who practice gratitude regularly experience less stress, better sleep, and even improved immune function. But beyond all the data, there's something more poetic at work. Gratitude restores dignity to the everyday. It reminds us that the small, quiet blessings, good health, a friend's laugh, a roof over our head, are not small at all. And here's the thing, a grateful heart is magnetic. People are drawn to it. When you live in gratitude, you stop projecting neediness or competition, and instead, you offer a kind of emotional safety. People feel more comfortable around you because you're not silently measuring them or yourself. I remember once meeting an elderly woman in a small cafe. She was alone, sipping tea, watching the rain. We struck up a conversation, and she told me, "Every day I wake up and thank the day for letting me be here again." There was nothing dramatic about her life. She wasn't famous, she wasn't wealthy, but there was a calm, radiant dignity in her presence. Her gratitude had settled into her bones, and it showed in her face. That's what gratitude can do. It makes you beautiful in a way time can't touch. Not the kind of beauty that fades with age, but the kind that deepens. So, maybe today's the day to start your own gratitude practice. Not as a chore, not as a self-improvement hack, but as a way of truly seeing your life. Start small. Write down 3 things tonight that you're grateful for. Just 3. Do it again tomorrow. And the next day. Watch how, slowly, you stop waiting for someday to be happy. Watch how peace begins to slip quietly into your life. Because gratitude is more than a feeling, it's a foundation. And when you build your life on it, everything else feels steadier. Joy independent of external circumstances. Let me ask you something. When was the last time you felt truly happy? I'm not talking about that quick rush you get when you buy something new, or when someone compliments you. I mean that deep, steady warmth in your chest that doesn't fade when the moment passes. Here's the thing. Most of us spend our lives chasing joy like it's hiding out there somewhere. In a better job, a bigger house, a perfect relationship. And sure, those things can bring excitement. They can lift us up for a while. But the kind of joy they give is like a sugar rush. It spikes high, then drops fast. The moment the job changes, the house loses its shine, or the relationship hits a rough patch, that joy slips away. But there's another kind of joy. One that doesn't depend on whether life is treating you kindly today. One that stays steady even when the world around you feels unpredictable. It's the joy that comes from within, from your awareness, your attitude, and the way you choose to meet each moment. Now, I know that sounds almost too simple. Just look within. But if it were that easy, we'd all be walking around in bliss 24/7. The truth is, our minds are trained to anchor happiness to events. If this happens, then I'll be happy. When I have this, then I'll feel good. It's like putting your emotional well-being on layaway, always waiting for the pickup date. The real shift happens when you realize you don't have to wait. You can create joy without changing your circumstances. You can choose it, the same way you choose your clothes in the morning. That doesn't mean forcing a fake smile or ignoring life's challenges. It means deciding that your inner state isn't up for negotiation. I once heard someone describe inner joy as a candle in a windproof glass. No matter what storms blow outside, the flame stays steady. That image stuck with me, because life will always have storms, job losses, misunderstandings, health scares, disappointments. If your happiness is built on things staying perfect, you'll be in trouble the moment they're not. But if your joy lives inside you, protected by your own awareness, then you can still carry light in the dark. Think of the people you know who seem unshaken no matter what happens. Maybe they've been through hardships, but they still greet you with warmth. They still laugh. They still notice beauty in small things. That's not because their lives are easy. It's because they've learned not to hand over the keys to their joy. And here's the best part. When your joy comes from within, it changes the way you experience the highs and the lows. The highs are sweeter because you're not clinging to them in fear of losing them. And the lows are gentler because you're not depending on them to end before you can breathe again. There's a quiet kind of power in this. Imagine waking up tomorrow and realizing that nothing outside of you has to change for you to feel good inside. That your peace, your joy, your light, it's not up for sale. That's freedom. So how do we get there? It starts with noticing. When you feel joy, pause and ask yourself, what is this joy made of? Is it tied to something outside you? A compliment, a win, a purchase? Or is it something more subtle? Gratitude for a sunrise, appreciation for a breath, the simple awareness that you're here, alive, right now. The more you practice finding joy in things that can't be taken away, the stronger your inner joy becomes. I found that one of the most powerful ways to anchor this joy is to build small rituals that remind you of your own presence. A morning cup of tea without your phone. A walk where you notice the color of the sky. A few minutes at night to breathe and reflect. These little acts say to your mind, joy is here, right here. No special conditions required. And over time, something beautiful happens. Your joy becomes less like a fragile balloon you're afraid to lose and more like the ground you stand on. Even when the scenery changes, you're steady. I'll leave you with this thought. The world will always try to convince you that joy is something you earn, buy, or stumble upon. But the truth is, the most unshakable joy is the one you build inside yourself, piece by piece, moment by moment. And once you've built it, nothing and no one can take it from you. Non-verbal communication, the language of joy and gratitude. They say actions speak louder than words. But sometimes, it's not even the actions, it's the presence. You've probably met someone who walks into a room, says nothing, and yet, the whole atmosphere changes. People turn toward them, not because they're famous or dressed a certain way, but because something about their face, the warmth in their smile, the light in their eyes, draws you in. That's the power of non-verbal communication. And here's the fascinating part. The most magnetic expressions don't come from faking it. They don't come from perfect posture or a rehearsed smile in the mirror. They come from something deeper, joy and gratitude living quietly inside. When you genuinely feel thankful for life, when you carry that subtle, steady joy, it leaks out in the way you look at people. Your eye contact holds kindness instead of judgment. Your smile isn't a polite formality, it's an unspoken "I see you, and I'm glad you're here." Even the way you tilt your head, the softness in your gestures, tells others, "I'm safe. You can relax here." And people feel it, instantly, long before they hear your voice. Think about it. Have you ever met someone whose energy made you feel at ease in seconds? Maybe you couldn't explain why, but you trusted them almost immediately. That's nonverbal trust building in action. It's not manipulation, it's resonance. It's what happens when your inner state is aligned with openness and goodwill. There's actually science behind this. Studies show that humans pick up emotional cues in milliseconds. Our brains are wired to read micro-expressions, the tiny facial movements we don't even realize we're making. You can't fake those for long, which is why joy and gratitude are so powerful. They naturally shape those micro-expressions into something warm, approachable, and genuine. Here's where it gets interesting. You can't just turn on that look. You have to live it. If you try to smile without feeling it, people sense the gap. If you make eye contact without openness in your heart, people feel the distance. But when you nurture joy and gratitude inside, your nonverbal language becomes effortless. You don't perform friendliness, you are friendliness. Let me share a little story. Years ago, I met a man at a small gathering. He didn't talk much, but every time my eyes met his, he gave this slight, warm nod, like a quiet acknowledgement that I mattered. No big speeches, no trying to impress, just presence. And to this day, I remember that feeling more than anything that was actually said that night. That's the kind of communication that doesn't fade. And here's the kicker, this doesn't just impact strangers. It changes your relationships. Imagine your partner, your kids, your coworkers, seeing that steady warmth every time they look at you. Over weeks, months, years, that builds a foundation of trust you can't fake. So how do we cultivate it? The answer isn't smile more. The answer is, build a life where you want to smile more. Spend time noticing what's good. Say thank you out loud, even for small things. Let yourself appreciate the way sunlight falls on your desk, or how a friend remembers your favorite coffee order. The more you fill your inner well with gratitude, the more naturally it will spill over in your eyes, your smile, your presence. And remember, nonverbal communication works both ways. When you meet someone's eyes with warmth, you're not just giving them something, you're also training your own brain to feel connected. When you offer a genuine smile, your body releases feel-good chemicals that make you actually happier. In other words, joy and gratitude don't just make you look radiant, they keep you radiant. So maybe the next time you walk into a room, you won't be thinking about whether your hair is perfect or if you have the right words ready. Instead, you'll focus on carrying the right spirit. Because the truth is, people won't always remember what you said, but they'll always remember how they felt in your presence. And that feeling, it begins long before you speak. Harmony between mind and body. How joy and gratitude transform your health. Have you ever noticed how some people just look healthy? Not just because they work out or eat well, but because there's something deeper in the way they carry themselves? Their skin seems to glow, their eyes have that spark, and even the way they move feels light, almost as if their mind and body are in perfect sync. That's not an accident. That's what happens when the inner world, your thoughts, your emotions, works in harmony with the physical body. And here's the beautiful truth. Joy and gratitude are two of the most powerful bridges between the two. See, when we think about health, we often focus on the physical side. Exercise, diet, vitamins. Those matter, of course. But science and experience tell us that our emotional state has a direct line to our physical well-being. When you live with a sense of joy, when gratitude is part of your daily rhythm, your body listens. Literally. Joy and gratitude don't just make you feel good, they set off a whole chain reaction in your body. Stress hormones like cortisol drop. Feel-good chemicals like dopamine and serotonin rise. Your blood pressure eases down. Your heart rate steadies. Even your immune system gets stronger. And maybe the most underrated effect, they help you sleep better. Deep, restorative sleep that allows your body to repair and your mind to reset. Think about how that works in the opposite direction. On days when you're anxious, bitter, or weighed down by negativity, your body feels it. Your shoulders tense. Your stomach knots up. You can't rest properly, and the fatigue just feeds more stress. Over time, it wears you down. Your face reflects it. More wrinkles from constant frowning, duller eyes from poor sleep, even that heaviness in your movements. Now flip that picture. Imagine starting each day with a small, intentional moment of gratitude. Before the coffee, before the emails, before scrolling your phone. You take a breath, maybe look out the window, and simply acknowledge one thing you're thankful for. That single shift can ripple out into your whole day. You're calmer when traffic gets bad. You're more patient when someone interrupts you. You don't cling to small irritations because joy has already anchored you. Over weeks and months, that emotional balance becomes physical balance. Your hormone cycles regulate. Your breathing patterns change. Your digestion even improves because when you're calm and joyful, your body's rest and repair mode turns on, and your systems work as they were designed to. I remember meeting a woman in her late 60s who seemed ageless. She had wrinkles, sure, but they were the kind that told stories, creases from years of smiling, not frowning. Her movements were fluid, her energy warm and steady. When I asked her secret, she didn't talk about diet plans or beauty products. She said, "I take care of my joy first. My body follows." That line has stayed with me ever since. Take care of your joy first. Your body will follow. It's easy to dismiss that as poetic, but it's grounded in reality. When your mind is at peace, your body's stress systems don't have to fight invisible battles. And when your body feels good, it's easier for your mind to stay clear and grateful. It's a feedback loop. One strengthens the other. And yes, it shows in your face. A harmonious mind and body produce a natural radiance you can't fake. No amount of makeup or grooming can mimic the kind of glow that comes from inside, where your cells are literally healthier, your muscles more relaxed, your sleep more restorative. So how do we get there? Start with the basics. Gratitude practice. Small, consistent moments of noticing what's good. You don't have to write a novel in a journal. Just name 3 things each night before bed. Joyful movement. Not exercise as punishment, but movement you enjoy. Dancing in your kitchen counts. Walking in the evening light counts. Mindful rest. Give yourself permission to slow down without guilt. That's not laziness, it's maintenance. Gentle self-talk. Notice the words you use toward yourself. Your body hears them. Your nervous system hears them. Over time, these aren't just habits. They're a way of aligning your mental state with your physical health so they work together, not against each other. The truth is, life will always have stress. It will always have moments that throw you off balance. But when you cultivate joy and gratitude as part of your foundation, your balance comes back faster. Your body doesn't stay in that state of tension as long. And your face, the way people see you, reflects vitality, not just survival. Maybe that's the real secret. We spend so much time trying to look better from the outside in. But the deepest beauty, the kind that lingers in memory, comes from the inside out. From the harmony between a mind at peace and a body that feels safe, cared for, and alive. Because when your mind and body are in sync, you don't just look well, you are well. And people can see it before you even say a word. The quiet power of joy and gratitude on confidence. You can tell when someone walks into a room and they're truly comfortable in their own skin. It's not about the clothes they wear, the job title they have, or even how perfectly they've styled their hair. It's something quieter, deeper. You see it in their eyes. You feel it in the way they smile. Not forced, not calculated, but genuine. Here's the surprising thing. Real confidence often has less to do with achievement and more to do with the emotional state you carry inside you. And 2 of the most underrated builders of that quiet, magnetic confidence? Joy and gratitude. Think about it. When you're joyful, when you're truly grateful for the life you have, you stop obsessing over constant comparison. You're not scanning the room for who's more successful, who's better looking, or who has more followers on social media. You're simply present. And that presence, that's what people feel. That's what makes them drawn to you. See, a lot of us have been taught that confidence comes from accomplishment. Get the degree, land the promotion, buy the house, and then you'll deserve to feel confident. But the truth is, accomplishment without joy feels hollow, and gratitude without comparison. That's the foundation of real self-assurance. I once met a man at a small dinner party who wasn't the loudest person in the room. In fact, he spoke less than most. But whenever he did speak, people leaned in. His smile was warm, his eyes genuinely interested in others. Later, someone told me, he's like that with everyone. He makes you feel like you matter. That's the kind of confidence joy and gratitude build. It's not about look at me, it's about I see you. And that creates a beautiful cycle. When you radiate that kind of energy, people respond with openness. They trust you faster. They're kinder in return. Social interactions become warmer, more fluid. And the more positive your experiences with people are, the more naturally your confidence grows. It's not arrogance, it's a quiet knowing that you belong. Let's be clear, joy doesn't mean you're smiling every second of the day. Gratitude doesn't mean you ignore life's challenges. But they do mean you see your own life through a lens that makes you feel enough. Enough to show up without needing to prove yourself. Enough to listen without waiting for your turn to talk. Enough to smile without wondering if people are judging you. And there's another layer here. Our bodies remember confidence. The way you stand, the way you breathe, the way your face rests when you're not thinking about it, these are shaped by your inner state. A person who lives with joy and gratitude often has open body language without even trying. Their shoulders aren't pulled tight. Their hands aren't clenched. They make eye contact naturally because they have nothing to hide. This is why confident people who are fueled by gratitude are so magnetic. They are approachable. They're not competing with you in every interaction. They don't need to dominate the conversation because their sense of self-worth doesn't depend on it. And when you meet someone like that, you leave the conversation feeling lighter. That's powerful. Now, maybe you're thinking, okay, but how do I get there? How do I make joy and gratitude part of who I am? The truth is, it's not about faking a smile or forcing optimism. It starts small. You begin by noticing moments that make you feel alive. Sunlight through the trees, a song you love, the way your coffee smells in the morning. Then you take it a step further. You actually pause to let yourself feel it. Over time, these moments accumulate. Your brain starts to look for more of them. And the more your focus shifts to what's good, the more your inner narrative changes from I'm not enough to I have enough. And when you feel you have enough, confidence isn't something you wear like a mask, it's something you live in, comfortably. And here's the part one love most. You can't fake the kind of confidence joy and gratitude give you. People can tell when confidence is just a performance, when it's all posture and no substance. But they can also tell when it's real. And real confidence, rooted in an open heart, doesn't just make you feel good about yourself, it makes other people feel good about themselves when they're around you. So, maybe the question isn't how do I become more confident? Maybe the real question is, how do I live in a way that makes confidence a natural byproduct? And the answer, more often than not, is to start where joy and gratitude meet. Because here's the truth, confidence that comes from power or possessions will fade the moment those things are gone. But confidence that comes from a grateful heart, that lasts. It's there in the quiet mornings, in the tough days, in the unplanned conversations with strangers. It's there when life feels uncertain, because it's not built on control, it's built on trust. And maybe that's why the people who radiate both joy and gratitude always seem to stand out, even in a crowd. They don't need to demand attention, they naturally receive it. Not because they're trying to shine, but because light simply spills out of them. So if you want to walk into a room and feel at ease, if you want to connect with people without forcing it, if you want to carry a confidence that feels as natural as breathing, start with joy. Start with gratitude. Let them do their quiet work. Because before long, you won't just look confident, you'll be confident. And everyone will see it. The radiance that can't be faked. Have you ever met someone who didn't just look good? They felt good? The kind of person who walks into a room and somehow, the air feels lighter. It's not their outfit. It's not perfect skin or expensive jewelry. It's something deeper, something you can't quite put your finger on. That, my friend, is radiance. And here's the secret. True radiance isn't a skincare routine. It's emotional intelligence in action. See, when a person lives with genuine joy and gratitude, it's more than just a positive attitude. It's a sign of something much richer, emotional mastery, mindfulness, empathy. It's the outward glow of an inner life that's in harmony. In Buddhist wisdom, they say that a radiant countenance, your natural expression, the way your face rests when no one's watching, is the reflection of inner maturity. It's the silent proof of wisdom and compassion. You can't paint it on. You can't filter it. You have to live it. And here's the fascinating part. Emotional intelligence shows itself not in how much you talk, but in how deeply you listen. Not in how perfect your life looks from the outside, but in how gracefully you move through the messy, unpredictable parts of it. That grace, that quiet presence, is what people read as radiance. Think of the people you admire most, not for their success, but for their presence. They're not frantic. They're not constantly proving themselves. They seem at ease in their own skin, and somehow they make you feel at ease too. That's empathy at work. That's mindfulness shaping the way they interact with the world. Science even backs this up. Studies show that people who regularly practice gratitude and mindfulness have lower stress levels, more balanced hormones, and better sleep. But beyond the biology, something else happens. They develop an energy that people pick up on without a single word being spoken. It's why someone can look more attractive without changing a single physical feature, because emotional balance is magnetic. Here's the thing about emotional intelligence. It's not about never getting upset or never making mistakes. It's about being aware of what's going on inside you, naming it, and choosing how to respond. Joy and gratitude make that choice easier. They anchor you. They remind you, even in a storm, that you're still the captain of the ship. I remember meeting a woman at a retreat. She was in her late 60s, hair streaked with silver, laugh lines deep and unapologetic. When she spoke, her voice was calm, measured, full of warmth. And when she listened, she didn't just hear your words, she received them. Her face had that unmistakable light, not because her life had been easy, but because she'd learned to live with an open heart through every chapter. That's the kind of radiance emotional intelligence brings. It's not about perfection, it's about depth. You can feel it in the way someone makes space for you in conversation, in how they react when things go wrong, in the way their presence feels safe. And here's a little truth we don't hear often. Emotional maturity is beautiful. I don't just mean morally admirable, I mean visibly beautiful. The tension leaves your face. Your eyes soften. Your smile becomes more frequent and more genuine. People sense your steadiness, and they're drawn to it in a way that's much stronger than superficial attraction. The Buddhist idea here is profound. Radiance isn't a decoration, it's a byproduct. You can't chase it directly, the way you might chase a compliment or a goal. You grow it, from the inside out, by cultivating awareness, compassion, and gratitude. And eventually, it shows. And the best part? This kind of radiance doesn't fade with age, it deepens. While physical beauty might shift over time, the warmth of emotional intelligence can actually make someone more captivating the older they get. That's why you sometimes meet elders whose presence feels like home. You feel seen, understood, and valued just by sitting across from them. But here's the question: how do we get there? How do we build the kind of emotional intelligence that shows up in our very presence? It starts small. Pay attention to what you feel, without judgment. Notice the little sparks of joy in your day and actually let yourself feel grateful for them. Practice empathy not as an abstract ideal, but in the moment, when your coworker seems distant, when your partner is short-tempered, when the stranger at the store looks exhausted. These are your training grounds. And little by little, your inner world starts to change. You become less reactive. You stop carrying unnecessary battles in your head. You start giving people the gift of your full attention. And that, my friend, changes your face, your posture, your energy. Because here's the real magic. Emotional intelligence doesn't just improve your relationships or decision-making, it leaves a trace on you. People can't always name it, but they feel it. They feel calmer around you, more open. And that's what radiance is. It's not just light you carry, it's light you share. So maybe the next time you think about how to look your best, you'll also think about how to be your best inside. Because a radiant countenance isn't something you buy, it's something you grow. And if you keep choosing joy, if you keep returning to gratitude, if you keep practicing compassion, one day you'll catch your reflection in a window and you'll see it. That glow that can't be faked. The beauty of a life lived with emotional intelligence. And it will be more than enough.